Your brain is currently constructing an entire universe, one that follows no laws of physics yet feels more real than the chair you are sitting in. Every night, your mind weaves complex narratives, vivid landscapes, and bizarre emotions into a tapestry of subconscious activity. But why? Why does the human brain insist on creating these elaborate hallucinations instead of simply switching off? By the end of this exploration, we will uncover the hidden mechanics behind your nightly cinema and what it reveals about your survival. It feels like a random glitch in the system, a byproduct of neurons firing at random. But scientists are beginning to suspect that dreaming isn't a side effect, it's a vital, intentional process for human evolution. We aren't just hallucinating while we sleep, your brain is performing high-level maintenance on your identity and survival skills. The truth behind these visions is far more strategic than most people realize. Stay with me because the deeper we go, the stranger the purpose becomes. To understand why you dream, we first have to look at how your brain handles information during the day. Every second, your senses bombard your consciousness with an overwhelming flood of data, sights, sounds, and emotions. If your brain tried to process every single detail consciously, it would collapse under the weight of the noise. Dreaming might be the way your mind filters this chaos, sorting the wheat from the chaff so you can function tomorrow. Think of your brain as a massive, bustling archive that needs to be organized every single night. During the day, you collect files of experiences, memories, and fears in a disorganized heap. While you sleep, specifically during REM cycles, your brain begins the heavy lifting of indexing these files. It connects a new face you saw today to a memory from 10 years ago. This process is known as memory consolidation, the bridge between what happened and what you actually learned from it. But here is the part most people never realize. Dreaming isn't just about filing memories away, it's about testing them. Imagine your brain as a flight simulator for your consciousness. When you dream about facing a fear or navigating a complex social situation, your brain is running simulations of reality. It allows you to experience the consequences of actions in a safe virtual environment. You are practicing for life without the risk of actual physical harm. Some researchers believe dreams serve as a threat rehearsal mechanism for our ancestors. Thousands of years ago, dreaming about escaping a predator or navigating a dangerous terrain might have been vital for survival. Even today, when you dream about being chased or failing a test, your amygdala is firing like it's a real crisis. Your brain is essentially training your nervous system to react faster and more effectively. It's an ancient survival tool that has survived into our modern age. However, there is another theory that moves away from survival and toward the internal architecture of the mind. Some scientists argue that dreaming is a way to defragment your internal software. Just like a computer needs to clear its cache to run smoothly, your brain uses dreams to prune unnecessary neural connections. By creating these surreal narratives, the brain can discard useless data while strengthening the pathways you use most often. It is a nightly deep clean of your cognitive workspace. But here's where it gets truly strange. The random nature of dreams might actually be the point. Some theories suggest that by presenting you with surreal, illogical scenarios, the brain forces you to think creatively. When your mind is untethered from the rules of logic and physics, it can make leaps of association that are impossible during waking hours. This associative play could be why artists and scientists often find their most profound breakthroughs in a dream state. It is the ultimate laboratory for imagination. We also have to consider the role of emotional regulation, the thermostat of your psyche. Studies show that dreaming significantly reduces the emotional intensity of unpleasant memories over time. When you experience something traumatic, the initial memory is jagged and raw, making it hard for the brain to process. During REM sleep, the brain strips away the intense emotional charge while keeping the factual data. It's like taking a bitter medicine. The dream numbs the sting so the healing can begin. Think of your dreams as a private theater where you process the heavy emotions of the day. You might find yourself dreaming about an old argument or a recent failure, but notice how the feelings feel different once you wake up. The dream is your mind's way of processing the weight of your life so you don't have to carry it all while awake. It's a nightly form of emotional detox that keeps your mental health balanced and stable. If your own mind fascinates you and you want to understand these inner workings better, subscribe. We explore a new mystery of the human condition every week. Let's continue into the realm where biology meets psychology. Some researchers believe that dreaming is actually a way for the brain to test different identities. By stepping into different roles or scenarios in your dreams, you are exploring the boundaries of who you are. It allows you to experience versions of yourself that don't exist in your daily life. This exploration of identity is crucial for our sense of self-concept and personal growth. In a dream, the boundaries between self and other can blur or shift entirely. This could allow the brain to integrate different parts of your personality into a cohesive whole. By playing out various roles, you are essentially rehearsing the complexities of human social dynamics. It is an internal laboratory where the ego is allowed to roam free and experiment without judgment. But there is another, more provocative theory involving the overfitted brain hypothesis. Some scientists suggest that if we only ever experienced the same routine every day, our brains would become too specialized, too overfit. To prevent this, your brain generates random, bizarre scenarios to keep its neural networks flexible and adaptable. By forcing you into a dream where you are flying or talking to an alien, it keeps your cognitive abilities sharp. It is a way of ensuring that the mind never becomes stagnant or predictable. To understand why dreams feel so vivid and real, we have to look at the chemistry of sleep. During REM sleep, certain neurotransmitters are suppressed while others, like acetylcholine, surge into high gear. This chemical cocktail shuts down your logical centers while supercharging your creative and visual processing units. Your brain isn't just making a movie, it's shifting its entire operating system into a creative mode. It prioritizes imagery and emotion over facts and logic to give you that immersive experience. Some researchers also believe dreams are a way of simulating future possibilities based on past patterns. By projecting your current goals onto the canvas of sleep, your brain creates a map of what might happen next. It's not prophetic, but it is predictive. It takes the data you have and runs it through different permutations. This could be why dreams often feel like they are warning us or showing us possibilities we hadn't considered. You are essentially looking at 1,000 different versions of your future life in one night. Wait, but if all these functions, memory, emotion, and simulation, are happening, why do the dreams feel so weird? The answer lies in how our brains interpret meaning when the logical centers are offline. Because your prefrontal cortex is dampened during REM sleep, your brain accepts the impossible as perfectly normal. When you see a flying whale or a house with no doors, your brain doesn't question it because the logic gate is closed. You aren't seeing something weird. You are experiencing a reality where logic isn't the primary currency. There is also the theory that dreaming is our way of solving complex problems by walking away from them. When you focus too hard on a problem during the day, your conscious mind can get stuck in a rut. During sleep, however, the subconscious can roam freely and make connections that are hidden to our waking minds. This is why people often wake up with the aha moment after a long night of restless dreaming. The dream provided the freedom for your brain to find the missing piece of the puzzle. Some scientists suggest that even the most bizarre dreams are actually trying to make sense of something real. If you have a recurring nightmare about falling, it might be your brain's way of processing a literal loss of control in your waking life. The dream takes a complex abstract emotion and turns it into a concrete cinematic metaphor. It's not that the dream is random, it's that your brain is translating feelings into pictures. It is an internal translator trying to make sense of the inner world for you. Despite all these theories, one truth remains certain. Dreaming is a profound expression of our biology. Every dream, no matter how strange or nonsensical, is a product of your brain's incredible ability to synthesize information. It is a masterpiece of neural engineering that has evolved over millions of years to keep you sharp and resilient. When you close your eyes tonight, remember that your mind isn't just shutting down. It is entering its most active workshop, refining who you are and preparing you for what comes next. So how can you make the most of this inner theater? While we cannot control our dreams, we can influence the raw materials our brain uses to build them. By practicing mindfulness or journaling before bed, you can provide your mind with clearer, more positive data to process. You are essentially giving your internal filmmaker a better script to work with. Your dreams are not just noise, they are a reflection of your inner world. If you want a clearer dreamscape, start by clearing the clutter in your waking life. To recap, your dreams serve as a multi-purpose tool for your survival and well-being. They act as a training ground for future challenges, an emotional filter for past traumas, and a creative lab for new ideas. They are the nightly maintenance that keeps your mental software running smoothly and your thoughts staying sharp. Every bizarre image and strange feeling is just a piece of code being optimized. Your brain isn't trying to confuse you. It's trying to give you everything you need to thrive in the waking world. The next time you wake up from a vivid dream, don't just dismiss it as nonsense. Ask yourself what emotion it left behind and what part of your life it might be mirroring. It is an invitation to look inward at the complex machinery that makes you who you are. Your mind is not just a passenger in your body. It is an active creator of your reality, even while you sleep. The dream world is perhaps the most intimate conversation you will ever have with yourself. What was the most vivid or strange thing you remember dreaming about this week? Tell us in the comments. Your experience might be the key to understanding our shared human journey. The fact that we all see different worlds while sharing the same biology is one of life's greatest mysteries. Every dream is a unique map of an internal landscape only you can explore. It's time to start paying attention to what your mind is trying to tell you in the dark. The fact that we still don't fully understand every nuance of sleep means there is always more to discover. Every night, you are embarking on an adventure into the deepest reaches of your own consciousness. It's a journey that never truly ends, and it begins every time you close your eyes. Stay curious. There's so much more of your mind still to uncover.